Women were always among the elders of God's people, whether in the Old Testament or in the early church of the New Testament. Deborah was a female judge, in the Old Testament, who was included with men under the masculine plural Hebrew title judges, Hebrew masculine plural shoftim, in Judges 2 verse 16. Deborah was a judge and a teacher of an entire nation, and she led men into battle. Phoebe was a female deacon, in the New Testament, in the early church, as well as also other women in the Bible, were also included together with men under the masculine Greek title diakonos in Romans 16 verse 1 and 1 Tim 3:8 v 11, and note that the word deacon also translates to pastor. Eunia was a female apostle in the New Testament, in the early church, in the New Testament, was included with Andronicus and other men, under the plural Greek title apostles, Greek masculine. Plural dative apostolos, in Rom 16:7. Paul said that she was an apostle of note among the apostles. And women were also included under the masculine Greek title elders, in the early church, but it was lost in translation when the translators incorrectly translated women elders to older woman in 1 Tim 5. In 1 Tim 5:1-2, Paul mentions female elders, presbyterai, alongside male elders, presbyteroi. Translators often assume that the passage is only referring to older men ve older women, or elder men ve older women, but Paul uses the same word in the masculine form of the church office of an elder, later on in the same chapter in 1 Tim 5:19 v 19. That fact that the masculine form of the word elder indicates the office of an elder, means that the same word in its masculine ve feminine forms also refers to the office of an elder. Thus, this cannot exclude women holding the office of elders in the church. This is clear evidence that in the early church, there were women elders alongside male elders, and that the men accepted the women's authority. The same Paul uses the same Greek word, but in the feminine form, to refer to women as elders. 1 Tim 5:1, rebuke not an elder, presbyteros, a male elder, entreat him as a father. 1 Tim 5:2, the elder women, presbytera, female elders, as mothers and sisters. This was incorrectly translated to older woman. It may be argued that elder women simply refers to older women, but if this is so, then why did Paul use the feminine form of the same word as used of male elders? If this verse simply speaks of older men, then the other uses by Paul in the same epistles could also then only refer to older men. Therefore, it could be seen as inconsistent to say that elder/s in 1 Tim 5:1, 17, 19 ve Titus 1 verse 5 refer to male elders, and the reference to elder women in 1 Tim 5:2 is simply to older women. Paul knew which form of which words to use, and to select them on the basis of gender where this was important. Hence, Paul uses the masculine Greek word presbyteros for the male elders, and then he uses the feminine Greek word presbytera for the female elders. If the use of the Greek word here does not refer to female elders, then how can we interpret the use of the same Greek word as referring to male elders? It is not consistent to take 1 Tim 5:1 and say it speaks of male elders, and then say that 1 Tim 5:2 speaks of older women, when the same Greek word is used, one masculine and the other feminine. It is very clearly seen that both male and female elders or presbyters are spoken of in Paul's writing. It is evident that women did hold the office and fulfill the ministry of eldership as female elders. Paul as well as Peter tells the elders to shepherd the flock of God, Acts 20 verses 17-35 v 1 Pet 5:1-4. Men as well as women can occupy the roles of shepherding elders in the church. Women have been caring, nurturing, discipling and looking after the people of God through all of the charge ages. The shepherds of the Old Testament times are a shadow for spiritual shepherds in the New Testament church. The Old Testament is a shadow for the New Testament. Both men as well as women were shepherds in the Bible. Abraham, Moses, David, Rachel, Zipporah as well as the shepherdess in the Song of Songs, were all shepherds in the natural. The natural always points to the spiritual. Both men and women may shepherd the flock of God in pastoral ministry. When women are called and gifted by the Lord for the fivefold ministry positions of leadership, then automatically that qualifies them to be elders, presbyters, and it is a sin to prevent women from walking in their God-given calling. You are not only oppressing and sinning against women when you do that, but you are also sinning against the Lord and preventing the Lord's work to be done through the ministry of women in the church, technically making you an enemy of Christ and His body. Regretfully, it seems that many translators of the Scriptures were and still are influenced by their own theology. What they think God and Paul said about women, or their own bias towards the opposite sex in ministry and leadership, as well as by traditional Judaistic influences and corrupted and twisted translations accordingly. The Bible translators very often translate the Scriptures through their own filters. If a man, or any person for that matter, has had any negative experience with women, or has any negative thoughts about women, whether those mindsets were formed through culture, upbringing, childhood, rejection, hurt, trauma, fear, anxiety, etc., that person is going to translate the Scriptures through his own skewed filter. All of this has helped to create greater bias in men against women being in leadership roles in the church. It has brought in a spirit of male chauvinism and sexism into our churches. People should use their God-given discernment and cast out these demons from their churches and their minds. Paul's redemptive word is applicable in these things. In Christ there is neither male nor female, but all are one in Christ. No one can claim a spiritual superiority. Gal 3:28